Please welcome your host, Clare Beumont.
Welcome to the Leadership Experiment podcast, where we explore bold ideas, challenge traditional thinking, and deepen our understanding of what it means to lead in today's complex world. I'm Clare Beumont, and I'm joined today by Dale Bracegirdle, Seddon, and Nithya Ramaswamy, three brilliant minds who are deeply invested in the future of leadership. In this episode, we're building on our recent dialogue about AI augmented leadership. We're asking, what does it mean to be a leader in an age where AI can do so much of what we once thought was uniquely human? And more importantly, how do we ensure that we don't lose our humanness in the process? Let's dive in.
Yeah, thanks, Claire. So when we opened the dialogue, I shared a story, and it was really a personal moment where AI had helped me to make a choice, and that choice was between designing a coaching program or watching my daughter play a game of basketball. Using Microsoft Copilot, I really freed up time, and I chose to be quite present with my daughter. And that, for me, that moment wasn't about productivity, it was about humanity. During the session, I introduced a metaphor for AI, which is an exoskeleton, something that really helps amplify our leadership muscles without replacing them. And the model that we've developed highlights three core capabilities that leaders need alongside AI, which is awareness, critical thinking, and compassion.
That story really stuck with people, Dale. Christine, when you heard that framing, AI as something that strengthens but doesn't substitute, what stood out for you?
Thanks, Claire. What struck me about the story was how AI should serve our values, not redefine them. I've been thinking a lot about how AI can challenge our assumptions and how easily we can slip into using it for speed and convenience. Dale's story about human connection or connection with his daughter is one that we tend to forget about when we think about our leadership in an AI world.
Thanks, Christine. I love that reflection on compassion. Nithya, what was your take? Do you see AI as amplifying or distracting from your leadership?
Yeah, that's a great question, Claire. I would say both, honestly. I find AI incredibly useful, but it's also risky, especially when it comes to staying intentional. It's easy to fill the space that AI creates with more tasks instead of reflection. So the leadership challenge becomes, what do we protect, not just what we produce?
Exactly. The biggest risk isn't that AI replaces us, it's that we let it accelerate the wrong things.
I love that challenge to us, Dale. You also introduced a really helpful framework in the session where you talked about the three horizons: addition, automation, and augmentation. Can you unpack that a bit more for us, please?
Yeah, sure. So Horizon 1 Edition, it's really where most organizations sit today. And that's where AI is used to speed up decisions, automate reports, or draft content. It helps us to do the same things, but just faster. When we think about Horizon 2, which is automation, this really shifts the focus to culture. And at this point, it's really about freeing up leaders from the busyness so that they can be more present. They can really create these key moments that matter for their customers and employees in a very different way. Whereas Horizon 3 augmentation is where AI completely reshapes our operating models. And that really requires us to take quite a bold approach around systems thinking and governance.
Great, thank you. Hey, Christine, what do you reckon happens if organisations get stuck in Horizon 1, the addition stage of AI?
Oh, that's such a great question. And I think it's where many of us are at the moment. In fact, I'm observing a real tension in organisations as they think through how they implement and make the most of AI. Essentially, most organisations these days are hardwired to drive profit through revenue growth at the top, and operational efficiency at the bottom. And AI is so great for driving operational efficiency, or we think it could be so great for driving operational efficiency. And with that, it means that we can free up our resources, which is awesome. And we say we'll free up resources for more strategic work, for more meaningful work, for potentially greater human connection. But at the same time, I'm noticing, and I'm sure you are too, is that instead of freeing up resources, what we're actually doing, or what some organisations are doing, is letting go of resources through redundancies and the like. And in this way, we are facing a real human and ideological dilemma in terms of how we bring meaning to our work and what that means for society going forward.
Yeah, it's so interesting. That came up quite a lot in the dialogue we had, and we talked about the ethics of AI and the governance of AI. Anything further that you're thinking about that, Christine, that might help inform our thinking here?
Yeah, thanks, Claire. And then we'll go to Nithya and Dale and get their thoughts too. But what I think we ended up discussing was that it's a bit like a balancing act that organisations need to take, or a seesaw. On one side, you have this enablement of productivity that AI creates. And then on the other side of the seesaw, you have the opportunity for human connection and to create for organisations to move into that space for triple bottom line results in terms of creating a contribution back to community through human connection. So organisations, as they start to think about how they're using AI, might want to consider, are we looking at this purely from a productivity perspective, or are we looking at this, or are we looking at this from a human connection perspective?
Yeah, I think, Christine, that metaphor of a seesaw between efficiency and humanity, that's exactly right. Most organizations haven't yet learned to measure human connection, so they default to what is easy to count.
Yeah,
I think I'd add to that. This shift that we need to make is, look, I think organizations need to work out where the human sits in the process, and where AI cannot provide automation and ways to be able to drive the process or outcome. And I think if you can start to determine where these key moments that matter, that require a human touch are, you can start to then really design your culture in a way that's going to be really quite meaningful and aligned to your organization's purpose and brand, and the approaches that we can take. And if I was coaching an exec team, that's probably where I would help them to start.
Awesome. I love that challenge around thinking about how do we integrate AI and augmented AI leadership hardcore into the culture that we aspire to. That's a really lovely provocation for us, Dale. Nithya, what about you? Some coaching tips. If you were working with an executive team and wanting to support them to move from automation to augmentation, what's some of the stuff you'd be talking to them about?
It's a good question, Claire. For me, I would meet them where they're at. I think, Dale, you mentioned earlier, most organizations and leaders are pretty much comfortable in Horizon 1. Progressing to Horizon 2 and 3 is far more challenging as it involves a certain degree of maturity and readiness. The moving from automation to augmentation requires a bold sense of ownership and courage. It's about moving beyond silos to embracing collective leadership. I think in coaching executives, we make them aware of the various stages, recognizing their own familiarity and comfort levels, what is holding them back from progressing to the next stage, and reinforce what is working for them individually, but also as a collective leadership group.
Enterprise leadership strikes again, hey, Nithya. So let's go deeper into the human capabilities that Dale mentioned. He talked about awareness, critical thinking, and compassion. Now, these aren't just buzzwords. Christine, you raised a really powerful question in the dialogue when you said, what does compassion look like as a behaviour in the AI world? Would you like to talk to us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, what we heard from some of the people that were in the discussion, I think it was Morgana, who mentioned that she uses AI to reframe content for people with different languages and backgrounds. So for me, that's an example of compassion in action, and how we're using AI to support a more sort of compassionate and inclusive way of working. I think also compassion relates to listening, so we've got to, with all of the upside of AI, there is this huge efficiency thing, but we need to ensure that we're taking the time to slow down for each other, taking the time to self-reflect and be reflexive, and taking the time to listen deeply and intently to what others are saying, because that also leads to compassion. And that's again tapping into our humanness and how we can create meaningful value in the world.
Awesome.
I love that, Christine. And I think it's also about self-awareness. Am I using AI to challenge my own biases or just to confirm what I'm already thinking? We talk about AI being neutral, but our inputs and filters really shape everything. So just recognizing that, I think leadership's really about owning that as well.
Mm.
Yeah, it's where AI becomes not just a tool, but a mirror. It reflects our intention and our blind spots.
That's really nicely said. So here's a challenge for all of us. How might we better model awareness and compassion in our use of AI with our teams? I'm going to think about that further. But let's turn to a topic that got a lot of energy in the session, which is around ethics and governance. Our leadership experiment discussion in June raised the need for guardrails, including how we are protecting humanity, how we hold transparency, how we mitigate bias, and clarity on where AI is being used. Dale, what's your perspective of where this sits in Horizon 3?
This is the heart of leadership in the augmentation space. We need stronger muscles in ethics, systems thinking, and sustainability. The Human Technology Institute at UTS is doing amazing work on this, calling for us to really slow down and define what responsible AI actually looks like.
And Dale, it's not just about compliance, is it? It's also about building trust. Like, if our people feel AI is replacing folks rather than enabling them, we lose a whole lot more than productivity. We actually lose engagement and purpose.
I think we lose humanity. I mean, this is a real question for the C-suite and for boards. We need to be very intentional about the kind of value we expect AI to create, and what kind of value do we want AI to create? What kind of world do we want to carve as a result of using AI? Organizations can think about, from a sustainability intent. Are they here just to create profit, or are they also going to start to challenge themselves for greater societal value? Who's asking these hard questions at the top?
That's a great provocation, Christine. What would it look like for leaders to centre human impact as a KPI in everything they did? Let's close with some practical reflections. I'm really keen to hear from all of you. What's one way you're currently using AI that you feel enhances or augments your leadership?
Yeah, I use AI to create space, literally. I do a lot of automation and content preparation using it, and that enables me to focus much more on the sort of conversations that are important, whether that's coaching conversations or other. But I'm also learning to try and pause before filling in that time that I might have gained through the use of AI for more work.
Good challenge there, Dale. Let me know how you go with that.
I'm using it in a similar way, for creating space and to be more reflective and to have more meaningful relationships. I'm also using it to pressure test my thinking. So I ask it to critique a draft or offer an alternative view, something that might be in my blind spot. So for me, it's a bit of a silent partner for deeper reflection and reflexivity.
Awesome. What about you, Nithya?
Yeah, thanks, Claire. For me, it's about rethinking how I design team processes. So I ask the question, where can I use AI to take friction out of the system and then reinvest that energy in human connection, mentoring, or storytelling? I think it's really about then using that time to have deeper, more meaningful one-on-ones and team conversations.
I'm sure your team are enjoying that. I suppose for me, just to conclude, one of the things I'm loving about AI is the opportunity to use it to give me different perspectives from groups of people or from ideologies or philosophies or functions that I don't have as much experience with. So I'm loving the opportunity to broaden my lens on issues that AI affords me.
Claire, I'll just jump in. I love that you're doing that. I reckon we can all start to use AI as a bit of a pit crew for us, so that we have that multi-preferential approach. So if we can take different perspective, but I think we can also start to use it to consider what some of the unintended consequences are, what some of the challenges around implementing things are, or have we actually got the right data and evidence around this as well? And if we can start to consider AI as our pit crew, I reckon we'll go a long way.
Yeah, I love that analogy, Dale. I've got now feel like I'm a Formula One driver with my own pit crew. Thank you. Wow, what a powerful conversation. It's been rich, it's been reflective, and most of all, it's been very, very human. So thank you so much, Dale, Christine, and Nithya. Great, as always, having a conversation with you. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, we invite you to keep the dialogue going. Join up, share, and most importantly, take one idea from the conversation today and try it out this week. Not perfectly, just intentionally. Remember, the true measure of AI augmented leadership isn't how fast we go, it's how human we remain. Until next time, lead with courage, lead with care. Bye for now.
For more information on the Leadership Experiment and to join our community, please go to www.theleadershipexperiment.com. Thank you for listening.